All right. Okay. Very good.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. I want to thank Alan Reshoff for inviting me to join you all. It's a real honor to be here tonight, and it's an honor to be up here with Tom.
Well,
I don't know. I mean, I guess I just want to start by saying, you know, when the 2016 election happened, you know, my heart dropped to the floor, and I thought, what the hell just went down? And I remember receiving a phone call from, and I was doing the play actually that Tony was for, The Humans, and we had all just met Hillary and Bill backstage, and we're so excited to see them, but the outcome was not what we'd all hoped for. And I was contacted by a website, the theater website, and wanting a quote. And I remember it just flew out of my mouth. It said, well, the first thing we got to do is impeach him. And he hadn't even taken office yet. But that's where my head was at, was just to move forward that fast, figure out how to get him out as soon as he gets in. Of course, now here we are 3 years later, and the shit's really hitting the fan. And we all have prayers that perhaps, you know, right action will be taken, and our laws and legislature will work, and our government will move forward and help us out of the morass we've been in for the last 3 years. I grew up in Kansas, and I kind of, because of that, I think I have an understanding of why we feel like we're in such a terrible mess. In that part of the country, which was the flashpoint for the Civil War, the fight was over whether Kansas would become a state that would be a slave state or a free state. And Missouri, which was already in statehood and had slavery, was coming over into the Kansas territory to protect the right to have slaves there. And abolitionists from the North were all coming in droves from New England to the Kansas territory to fight to keep it a free state. And the fight that went on there was heinous, bloody. It wasn't a fair fight. They fought in the dirtiest ways possible. And the territory became Bleeding Kansas, and that was the flashpoint that got us to the Civil War. And I feel like that part of our nation still represents the division that we feel in our country right now. And Donald Trump has been the flashpoint again that brings us to this horrible and possibly or hopeful moment in our history. In order to talk more about the hopeful part, I would like to turn the floor over to Mr. Tom Arnold at this point.
No.
Come on.
Jayne, much love. Let me tell you something. Jayne and I are from the same part of the country. We grew up in farms. She grew up in Kansas. I grew up in Tumble, Iowa. You know Tumble, Iowa. She performed at the old Creamery Theater up in Garrison, Iowa. It's our legendary place when you're a kid. You grow up in Tumble, Iowa, and you dream of being one of the performers that passes through Iowa, like Jayne, performs there, graces our state. You know, one day you hope to be one of those performers, and it's really an honor to meet you and to be up here with you. Now I'm going to tell you what the hell's going on. This impeachment is a necessary evil. It's how our country works. When I was here in June, I heard a lot of you guys complaining and bullying me because we hadn't started the impeachment process. This impeachment process is perfect. This is how America goes. Sometimes you have to do the right thing. Nancy Pelosi is the GOAT. She's the greatest of all time. She knows exactly what she's doing. Where's Jim? Where's Jim? You guys were fucking bullying me the last time I was up here. This is going perfectly. This is how it goes in America. You have to step up, read the Constitution. This country is amazing. Name another country that has rules and regulations in place for a peaceful transfer of power. That's what's going to happen. Worst case scenario, next November, Donald Trump and his fucking family move out of our goddamn White House, just like every other time. Don't give me no fucking shit about Civil War. Pardon me. Let me tell you something. You are right. You are right. People in this country, racists in this country, looked and said, Donald Trump, he's a bigot, he's cruel, he lies every time he opens his mouth, I'm going to vote for him. That's what they did, and it raised a bunch of people, and the fact that it took 3 years, Donald Trump has impeached himself. That's what's happened. He's out of control, and these people, these Republicans that are with him, are going off a fucking cliff with him. That's what's going to happen. Now, everything is perfect on Wednesday. Tomorrow, Jerry Nadler, they're going to sit there. They're doing a wonderful job. The Judicial Committee, after Adam Schiff did a wonderful job, it's perfect. Donald Trump and everything, they obstruct justice. That's not okay. It's not okay to interfere with our elections with foreign powers. It was never okay, ever. And it's not going to be okay with the next Democrat that wins. It's not okay. This country doesn't operate that way. We are not the corrupt ones. We're fucking America, damn it. And we are going to take this back, and we're going to clean it up. Donald Trump is cleaning up the fucking swamp. He's drained the swamp. That's what one thing, his legacy is going to be. Remember when Donald Trump was president, we drained the swamp? You fucking right we did. We got all these guys out of there. That's what we're going to do here. It's not okay. It's going to go, we're going to rally this up. And by the way, talk about timing. Talk about timing. The IG report, the 9th, is coming in next week, and it's going to be this bullshit conspiracy stuff Donald Trump's been talking about, his people. It's bullshit. And then the 10th, John Bolton's dying to testify. People are dying to testify. Watch what happens. Watch what happens. The truth, and don't complain about the pace of this stuff. Guys, do something about it. Get out there. I love you guys. You knock on doors. We're registering more people to vote right now than in the history of this country. We get out there and don't complain, well, it's boring. We should have started earlier. Listen, man, that's bullshit. Everything's perfect. If you want to do something about it. Okay? Don't complain about it. Get out there and do something. Because we're going to take this back. Oh, sorry. Hi, Piper. What do you want? Anyway, thank you very much. It's great to be here.
Okay, we're now going to have, I please ask people to please be quiet because we spent a long time putting together a program, and you be respectful of people with you and our speakers. And now I'm going to introduce a board member of Jim Allen's Liberal Democratic Club, someone who has been on The Affair. This season she's been fantastic on The Affair and A House of Cards, and is recently off Broadway in a show, one-woman show, which was fabulous. And I want to introduce our very dear friend, Kathleen Chalfant.
So, Alan asked me to come tonight to talk about immigration. I've been part of an ongoing project called Detained, which is a play by the playwright Franz Luce Benson. It's a verbatim play about detention. Franz Luce has written it with the ACLU and the Ensemble Studio Theater. And I'm going to read just a part of it. One of the characters, Claudia Slavensky. My name is Claudia Slavensky, and I've been an immigration attorney for nearly 40 years. I graduated law school when I was 10. I'm actually an immigrant myself. I came to the U.S. when I was 6 years old, Corpus Christi, Texas. I had blonde hair, blue eyes, and spoke zero English. They had no idea what to make of me. Most kids there had never even heard of Argentina. But believe me, when they started calling me dirty Mexican, I was more confused than they were. Did they think everyone who spoke Spanish came from Mexico? I could laugh at things like that, you know, because I never imagined I could be sent away. It was so different back then. Even in 1976, when I started working for legal services in New Jersey, the Immigration Act guidelines was a little pamphlet, small enough to fit in your pocket. Now, it's a 3-inch book. I mean, I don't even remember doing deportation cases back in the 70s. Maybe one or no, not until the 90s. Up until 1996, the majority of my practice was dealing with immigrants, mostly women, who were domestic workers, housekeepers, child care workers, and odd jobs that most American citizens would never think of doing. Cleaning crap out of someone else's toilet, you know. I was always struck by the emotional sacrifices they made, caring for a stranger's family when they had families of their own in the Caribbean, South America, Mexico, who they had not seen in nearly a decade. And so most of what I did back then was helping people like that get permanent resident status. And we often succeeded. After which, of course, they'd finally get to visit their children or send for their children to come live with them here. It was all about reuniting families, and it was so satisfying. Now all we're doing is separating them. I had this one client, Melita Ruiz, who came here from Guatemala as a teenager over 20 years ago. Good woman, green card holder, worked for the city as a roofer, mother, soon to be grandmother, beautiful home, family, just a lovely woman. She applies for citizenship, and next thing she knows, ICE is at her door. Because in 1997, she's riding in a car with her boyfriend. They get pulled over. He's got a stash of marijuana in his pocket, but it's her car, so she gets charged as well. She pleads guilty, pays a fine, case closed. 20 years later, she's in immigration detention for 7.5 months. I'll never forget the day of her deportation hearing. It was one of the most horrifying moments I've ever seen in my 40 years as an immigration attorney. Her kids were there, and well, the physical setup of the court was such that there was no back hallway. So they bring her in through the waiting room where her children are sitting, waiting for the court proceeding to happen, waiting to find out if their mom will get to come home. And so Melita comes through that room in an orange jumpsuit, shackled at the hands, at the feet, at the waist. And I'm looking at this woman, this mother, in chains. Her kids are devastated, traumatized, and I'm thinking, this is the pit. We're at the bottom. How do we live in a country with an immigration system that is so illogically cruel? There's no policy reason for inflicting this misery on people. It's just cruel. In the last 10, 20 years, I've encountered so many of these families. Hundreds of people like Melita, mothers, fathers, child after child after child after child, devastated by this cruel, illogical system. A system who ordered the deportation of a mother and father and their 2 kids who were born in El Salvador, while their American-born 15-year-old daughter would be left here alone. It took me 5 years to get that order reversed. Meanwhile, this 15-year-old girl was forced to hold up her entire family. I mean, can you imagine the pressure that puts on a child? 5 years? A system that uses the term chain migration as if it's this devious, menacing crime. I bet 90% of us are sitting in this room right now as a result of chain migration. You know what we used to call chain migration? Family unity. But you know, oppressive systems like this need participants, both willing and unwilling. If you've never thought about your passive support for this system, start thinking about it. No, start resisting it right now. Let's stop thinking about what we could do, what we might do, what we will do. Let's just get it done.
Kathleen is a living treasure. She does so much for the movement. She went door to door with us in Pittsburgh for Connor Lamb, and she'll be traveling across the country again. And if you want to join us, just give us a ring, because the club will be sending people into pivotal Democratic races to elect Democrats. Okay, next we're going to have our first awardee. We could not get Melania Trump tonight.
First of all, I want to say this lighting is incredible. Oh my God, you guys! Where's my chain? I'm gonna wear it around my neck. Okay. Let me find my spotlight. There it is. Thank God. Hold on, I'm gonna go back on this box. You guys, thank you for this. I am very gratified. I really do my best to be an ally. What I'm learning is that being an ally is not about centering yourself in the discussion, especially as a cis white woman. I walk through the world in a very different world than most people do. And I'm really trying to do my best to do more listening than talking. And that being said, who would like to see me do an impression of Melania Trump? Let me say, I hope I never fucking have to do this again. I hope she's in jail. I hope they are all in jail. And then I will visit them and do this at them. I'm going to put this down. I don't have a pianist here. That's how we say it in the theater. It sounds a lot like penis, but it's pianist. This is a song that I imagine that Melania sings to herself in the mirror every night, and will also occasionally sing to Donald Trump, and it goes something like this. This would be better if I had a spotlight on my face, but the spotlight is over there. Aren't we rich? Are we a pair? Me trying to hide underground, you with that hair. But where are the clowns? Isn't it bliss? Don't you approve? One who keeps tearing around, one who can't move. They won't let me move. And where are the clowns? Quick! Send in the clowns. Just when I stopped opening doors, they locked all the doors. Finally knowing the one that I wanted was not yours, Donald. Making my entrance again with my usual flair. Sure of my lines, Putin is there. Putin, don't you love farts? Your fault, I fear. I thought that you'd want what I want, not to live here in the White House. But where are the clowns? Quick! Send in the clowns. Don't bother, we're here. Thanks so much for having me here.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
You're amazing.
You are amazing.
Yeah, you are.
Okay, moving along, I just want to say Gail Brewer's here, our borough president. Gail Brewer has never missed the Jim Al's fundraiser or event, and Helen Rosenthal's here, Keith Powers was here.
Get a light next year. Get a goddamn light. You get all these great talent.
Joanne Simon's here, and we'll read some more names later. And right now, we're going to have a clip. Last year, a queer Latina ran for District Attorney of Queens. Self-identified queer Latina, who we thought won, but wound up losing by 60 votes. We're honored that she's here tonight, and we have a little clip from the District Attorney-elect of San Francisco, whose mother spent, I believe, 18 years in prison, and whose father is still incarcerated, I believe, for something like 38 or 39 years in New York. And he has been elected DA.
Bye, girl. Bye.
Thank you, and good evening. I'm glad the spotlight is not on my face right now. And no invitations for me, although Alan probably wanted me to do Andrew Cuomo, but I'm not going to do it. I'd be very angry up here. Okay. This is an honor for me to come here and present this award to someone who I was proud to support for District Attorney and who I'm proud to call a friend in the months since that election happened. And yes, she was up by over 1,000 votes on election night. We thought she won. Some of us believe she did win. She did. And when they counted, we still believe. When the votes were counted through whatever cockamamie process exists, the difference was 55 votes in the other direction. But something has happened that has changed Queens and changed the country forever. It happened as a result of one of the worst days in this country's history when Donald Trump was elected president. People decided to get active. People who maybe got a little passive about politics decided to get involved, and they've turned this country around. And we're still turning it around because we're not finished yet. But we helped take the House of Representatives back, which is why we're having these impeachment proceedings out there. We took the New York State Senate, which allowed New York to be at the forefront. I could be up here all night talking about all the things we've done, but I'll spare you. We've done a lot in New York to lead the way, and one of the great ways is on criminal justice reform. Starting January 1, there will be no more bail for nonviolent crimes in New York. And the person who's getting this award always reminds me that that's not enough, and we have to finish the job. But you have no idea, having grown up in Queens and the politics of Queens, how transformational that campaign was. And it changed the dialogue to where you have people who were what we call in politics regulars. Most regular of regular people jumping around screaming that they can eliminate bail. It would never be heard of unless it was for the campaign that Tiffany Caban ran and set the stage for, not just in Queens. This is a national movement, and she now is leading the way, helping good candidates around the country succeed in district attorneys races. And the best thing about Tiffany is that her work is just beginning. And so I know she's going to be a public servant for a long time to come. She's a lot younger than most of us, so she's got a lot of years ahead of her to do that with. But I'm looking so much forward to what she's going to accomplish in the future. She has already impacted the world in tremendous ways. So Tiffany, come on up and get your award. Thank you for all you do.
What's up, y'all? First of all, I just want to say thank you to Mike and Alan and the Jim Owls Club. It's still really, I feel all the feels when anybody talks about the race, a lot of different things. But one of the things that I always go back to thinking about is the coalition that we built, because really it's how we got to where we were. One of the most powerful memories I have on the campaign was standing flanked by people that have been denied access to electoral and political power for so many generations. Like to stand alongside undocumented folks and formerly incarcerated folks and sex workers, and then to also have people like the Jamalis Club to support us was really, really huge. We did something special. We built the largest, most diverse, most beautiful coalition that I think a borough-wide race, a city-wide race has ever seen. And Jim Allen was a part of that. And I just want to say personally, for me, it was important because of who I am. Because I am a queer Latina from a low-income community. And I centered that in every space I walked into. And people wanted to try to tell me that it was identity politics. But I'd just be like, you know what? No, because my identity is political as fuck. Yeah. My existence is political. And so to have a home in a place like this is incredibly important. And it's also how we win. So when I look towards 2020, and it's not just about making sure that we resist Donald Trump and get somebody else in the White House, because winning in 2020 doesn't just mean electing a progressive president. We need to make sure that we are working up and down the ballot to elect a progressive bench, right? We have to have that majority in place to be able to execute that president's vision and values, our values. And I see the coalition building model as the way that we do it. So I am just super, super grateful to continue to build on the work that we're doing. I'm really proud of the work that the Jamalis Club is doing because y'all threw down, right? Like when we talk about going in for progressive candidates up and down the ballot, we're talking about me. We're talking about finding people who are unapologetically radical in centering directly impacted folks who are going to give zero fucks and do whatever it takes to get the job done. And it takes having support from groups like this to do that. What we've shown is that this is a building movement. What we have shown is that we don't have to settle for incrementalism. What we have shown is that we have blown up the viability argument. It means nothing at this point. It's about who you have it backing you. It's about if your neighbors are with you. It's about your ground game and how many doors you're going to knock, and that's how you win, and you can beat anybody doing it. So I look forward to the work that's going to come in 2020. I look forward to being a part of it. And again, I just want to thank you all. I appreciate you.
Tiffany is why we exist. AOC is why we exist. LGBT empowerment is why we exist. Children in cages is why we exist. I want to remind everybody before you leave, we have these wonderful shopping bags. Convict the motherfucker. And mugs. Please pick up your mugs. Convict the motherfucker mugs. You only get them from Jim Howell's Liberal Democratic Club. And now I want to introduce our next person who's giving an award, who's also, like Kathleen Chalfant, an officer of the Jim Howell's Liberal Democratic Club. She's been in all your living rooms thousands of times. Thousands of times. Because you all have watched her on Law and Order and Blue Bloods and so many other shows. It is my honor to present a very dear and close friend of mine, of the LGBT community, the progressive community, a real political person who's going to be introducing a star, someone I saw recently in 2 Broadway shows who has a nice story and is committed to the struggle. Right now, here's Katie Irby.
Hi, everybody. I'm so glad we're all here on this crappy night, and in this together tonight and every night. So I'm here to introduce my friend Christopher Livingston, who I had the pleasure of doing a play this spring with. We worked on it for about 1.5 years together, a play called Something Clean. And there he is, that beautiful man. So much like myself, Chris is being honored. You know, when I first got was given this award, I knew nothing about all you guys. I knew nothing about Alan. I just knew that I wanted to be a part of what you were all up to, that you all are fighting daily for the things that are important to me and my children and my neighbors. And Chris, I know, feels the same way. And so I'm really happy that I could be here tonight to kind of bring him into the fold. I know he's a little nervous, but I know you all will give him a really warm welcome. Yes. He can't wait to be a part of this movement and be in the trenches with all of us. So without further ado,
Hello. I am nervous, but this is such an honor, and I wrote some things on my phone. I'm gonna read it. Sorry. Thank you. I want to thank the Jim Miles Liberal Democratic Club for this. It's truly an honor. I want to thank my mom, who is here, for being my number one supporter and my first friend. I love you. When Alan told me this club wanted to honor me, I felt undeserving of it, honestly. I thought, what have I done? Yeah, I'm black, I'm queer, I loathe that man in the White House, but what have I done, right? I'm grateful for this because it's caused me to really think about it all, to sit down and think about what I stand for as a person, what I care about in the world. I'm queer and proud of it. I remember in college, though, at one point questioning whether or not I should be out professionally. At one point being criticized by a teacher because I had a sibilant S, which I don't think I have, but who knows, whatever. I don't. He thought that would make me come across as gay, which would affect my castability. This totally put me in my head and subconsciously added to the stigma that being gay was wrong, which was a frame of mind I was fighting at the time. Now I'm open about my queerness. I celebrate it. I think it's beautiful. I don't worry about whether or not being queer is wrong because it's just not. It's so right. I don't worry if my queerness will prevent me from getting a certain job. If it does, they're not people I need to be working with. I am what I am, and I love it. What I do not love is the current president of the United States. Where to begin? Donald Trump is the worst. A racist, misogynist, homophobic brat who cares only for himself and the 1%. He bragged about groping and kissing women without their consent. He cares nothing about the future of his planet or humanity and proved this by pulling out of the Paris Agreement. And most recently, we've all learned about the quid pro quo with Ukraine. I remember the night he got elected so vividly. I drank whiskey with my roommates, expecting Hillary's victory because she was the obvious choice. I mean, we have a lot of work to do in this country, like righting the pay disparity between women and men, ending racial profiling by police, and the list goes on and on. But in no way are we going to backtrack from Barack Obama to Donald Trump. When he won, it was like a slap in the face. I was shocked. I was hurt. I was enraged. I continued to drink that night to self-medicate. I called my grandmother and we cried together on the phone in shock. Doesn't everyone know what a fake this guy is? He spreads nothing but hate and dis-ease. The next day I went to the theater. The whole city was quiet and heavy with shock. You could feel it. I was working at the Public doing a play about the Black Panther Party, and we circled up before rehearsal and yelled and cried, and a lot of my castmates weren't surprised. Of course he won. They said, this is where we are. This is actually where we are as a country. He is the shining example of racism and sexism that exists, within our country. The alt-right felt like their voices were not being heard. He appealed to them by promising to make America great again, to take America back to a time when it wasn't great for everyone. Over the past few years, his presidency has been filled with so many wrongs that, for me, it's easy sometimes to forget one because a week later something else pops up. But one thing I cannot forget is his morally ambiguous comments about there being some very fine people on both sides in the Charlottesville violence. Violence he claims happened because the alt-right was protesting the removal of the Robert E. Lee Monument. But we all know that violence was done to maintain white privilege and white supremacy. We all know they chanted, "Jews will not replace us." We know that James Fields Jr. drove his car into a crowd of anti-racism protesters, which ended horribly with the death of Heather Heyer. And Donald Trump doesn't have the decency and common sense to acknowledge right from wrong. His actions justify why we need to continue to fight for equality and justice. He is a textbook villain, and I'm excited to work with you all in vanquishing his presidency. In order to move forward as a people in a country, we all know we have no choice. I want to live in a world where systematic racism, sexism, homophobia, and transphobia don't exist. A world where our differences are celebrated, are cherished, where everyone has equal footing and access to healthcare, higher education, and a chance to achieve their dreams. A world where we can actually talk and listen to each other about challenging issues and learn from each other and grow together. Huey P. Newton said, "You can tell a tree by the fruit it bears. You see it through what the organization is delivering as far as a concrete program. The tree's fruit sours or grows brackish, then the time has come to chop it down, bury it, and walk over it and plant new seeds." Donald Trump's presidency started out sour. It shines a light on all the wrong that's buried within the roots of our country. In a small way, I'm grateful for that. It's easier to see, to uproot. And I'm really excited to get to work with you all, so thank you.
We have one more awardee, but I ask everybody after the awardee, Gail Brewer and Helen Rosenthal and Jayne Houdyshell and Kathleen Chalfant and Joanne Simon and Michael Janaris will cut the cake. You all want a piece of this cake. It is a Jim Owl special, and the picture will be precious. Okay, shoot. Piper was arrested last week with Jane Fonda and others on climate control. Piper is an habitual arrestee. And I plead with you, I haven't been arrested in about a year or two, and I will join you anytime. And I say to the people here, if you have never been arrested, your parents should not be proud of you. And now Piper is going to talk and receive her award, and she's going to introduce a very special person who is going to be speaking before the Supreme Court for the rights of the transgender people in our country, which is those rights are dwindling. The rights of LGBT people are dwindling. The rights of women, the rights to abortion, it could go on and on. But we have Piper with us tonight, and she's a beacon of light. Piper?
Thank you so much. Thank you to the Jim Mouse Club. Thank you to everyone here for all the important work that you're doing. Thank you. For all the important work that you're doing. The first time that I intentionally protested for LGBTQ rights, I was marching with a friend of mine for marriage equality here in New York. And she said to me, "This is the most romantic thing we're ever going to fight for." And when I was waiting for the New York State Legislature to vote on it, I don't know if you remember, but it was really late and I was filming in Canada and I fell asleep waiting for Anderson Cooper to say whether it had passed or not in New York State. I fell asleep on the couch and my phone was ringing and that's what woke me up. And it was my brother who was calling me from a dance floor and club in New York City. And when marriage equality passed in New York, he and his wife put on his wedding suit and she put on her dress and they ran to the closest club to celebrate. And I just remember thinking, when he called me, I was like, hello, hello, and he said, it passed, everyone can get married. And I just thought this is the most romantic thing that I can fight for. And so as I continue to stand up for LGBTQ equality and for the equality of everyone, I want to keep in mind that there's so much more fighting left to do. And so I wanted to bring with me Chase Strangio, who just with the argument team in the Supreme Court for Amy Stevens. And this is a fight that's going on right now, and so I wanted to cede my time to let Chase talk about this work and how important it is and where we are in it.
Thank you, Piper. I really like the Coyote Ugly clip. And afterwards, we're going to sing it together. Just joking. No, thank you. So it really means a lot that you're showing up the way that you are, Piper. So I just want to say, like, we're living in a time where those of us who have access and power really do have a responsibility to physically put our bodies on the line for those who are most vulnerable to having their lives taken, and we need to step aside to give voice to those people who our government is trying to silence. And so, I think that there's so much that can be modeled in figuring out how to use our bodies and how to step aside with our bodies. And I also just, since I'm on stage, want to thank Tiffany, because I'm a Jackson Heights resident, and I just remember in 2010, I would go on Roosevelt, and all of my trans Latinx friends would be arrested for walking down the street because they were profiled as sex workers, and the NYPD is still profiling trans women of color as sex workers. And it's great that we're gonna end cash bail for some people, but at the end of the day, if we keep criminalizing people's bodies, that we're gonna have the same cycles of violence. And standing up the way that you did and seeing Chesa in San Francisco in a day, we can change the way our criminal laws work is incredible, and we have a responsibility to keep doing that. So thank you. And so much of our fight really is at the local level, and so sometimes I'm sort of hesitant to speak about what's going on if we're looking at the Supreme Court, because the Supreme Court is not a place of justice. It is not. The Constitution is not a site of justice. It was a document that was written to preserve chattel slavery. We have a system that is violent at its core, and we do what we can to reduce harm. But we're living in a time of so much harm. And right now, this term, Kavanaugh's first full term on the Supreme Court, we're going to have so many critical issues decided. And even if we win them all, that will not be justice. But we have a risk of losing them all. And that will be devastating, and with material consequences for so many people. Whether it's the gun case that was argued today, whether it's the DACA case, whether it's the Title VII cases that we were involved in with the ACLU. And the Supreme Court is deciding right now, this term, whether it's legal to fire someone under federal law just because they are LGBTQ. And our client, Amy Stevens, is a trans woman from Michigan. She spent her life struggling with her truth. She had the ability to eventually say, I have one life to live. We all have our one life. And she's like, I'm not gonna live as someone who I am not. I'm gonna claim my truth. And she told her family, her wife, who supported her, and then she told her employer, who fired her. And at the time Obama was president, the EEOC, that is charged with enforcing federal law, brought a lawsuit against her employer. And that lawsuit made its way through the courts, and after the election, the ACLU intervened to represent Amy's interests because we were worried that the United States would no longer defend her rights under federal law. And we were unfortunately correct. Because now this case is before the Supreme Court, the United States is arguing and urging the justices to rule that it is lawful to fire people for being LGBTQ under federal law. And not only that, they've gone so far as to say that they want to roll back the protections against sex stereotyping in employment. Because it's so obviously sex discrimination when you fire someone for being LGBT or being trans. And so they're making this incredibly retrograde argument because they want a world where men have to be masculine in the way that they want, and women have to be feminine in the way that they want, and everyone else is at risk. And that's what's before the Supreme Court right now that will be decided by June. And so we have a responsibility to be showing up every single day, because one of the things that Justice Gorsuch said during the argument was, well, won't it create massive social upheaval if trans people are protected from discrimination? Massive social upheaval. And we know in New York City, trans people are protected from discrimination, and the massive social upheaval comes when we allow discrimination. And I just want to close with a quick story about my 7-year-old. When she was in preschool, not public school in New York City at the time, her school had the kids line up as boys and girls, which we talked to them about this. And she said, well, I'm neither. I'm not a boy or a girl. And they're like, just line up with the girls. And so she came home, she was all upset, telling me this story. I was like, well, what did you do? She's like, well, I threw myself on the ground screaming. And I was like, that's true. You know, if we're going to be enforcing gender binaries, if we're going to be criminalizing people's bodies, then the massive social upheaval that we should be seeing is ourselves throwing ourselves on the ground screaming, not standing for it. So thank you all for all the work that you're doing, because we support our country.
Okay, I do want to just say, Jayne here, who's been so wonderful, is going to be starring with Hugh Jackman in The Music Man. So we're all going to be there to see you. And you start rehearsals in July?
Yeah.
Okay, we will all be there to see you. And I want to thank Bridget Green and the United Federation of Teachers, who are always behind the club and provide the best education. And we're with you, and you're with us, and we'll struggle together. Okay. There's Bridget. Hello, Bridget. Bridget Reiner's going to be in the city council soon. Okay, could the people that I mentioned please come forward?
All right. Right here. Okay, man. Guys. Yep. No, I know.
This will take 2 minutes.
All right, buddy.
You'll all enjoy. Jared, you got the cake?
Cake is very. The cake lit?
No, you can't. Okay.
How many people turned you down to print that?
Actually, no one turned us down for the cake. We live in Chelsea. This is from Billy's Bakery.
And all we all have to say is convict the motherfucker.
Jayne, do us the honor. Wherever you want to step.
Yes.
Right in the heart.
Good job.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Have some cake, stay, open bar. Thank you. We're going to be out there. We're going to do everything we can to change this country. We're going to elect Democrats, and we're going to be fighting in the front lines. Thank you.